There was a woman that was very pregnant that was sitting next to me at the Vanity Chamber Awards for the Small Business Awards a number of months ago. It was Brenda Critchfield. And I said, hey, Brenda, and she's like, hey, Mike, And so went up there. You won the award for Small Business of the Year, which was pretty awesome. And you've got little Brad right there. Now, that's the good Brad, and your father, he's known as the bad Brad. Is that right, Brad? That's what they told me anyway. Brenda, she's the CEO of Avenue 941 that's going to be speaking to us today. She's taught in North Carolina for 8 years, has over 10 years experience teaching 8th grade language arts before that. She was a middle school teacher at Electra Lee Middle from 2015 to 21. They did win the Small Business Award, which was pretty awesome. And in 2023, the Human Rights Award from local chapter of Church Women United. Brenda has put together a super organization that's helped so many children through partnerships with many churches in the area. And Brenda, if you would please come on up and tell us about Avenue 941 and what's going on with the Small Business of the Year.
So fun fact about Mike, when Avenue 941 was first gifted our office space that we have at Gulf Coast Church on 59th Street West, Mike donated, hi Benjamin, Mike donated a full-size commercial printer to us. And every time I run copies at our office, I think about you. I know you don't know that maybe, but it is such a gift to us. It has saved us so much money. And I met Mike here at Kiwanis. And so just thank you, Kiwanis, for all that you do to support small business nonprofits. It really means a lot. Your very own Janine spent weeks mentoring me, trying to teach me what a nonprofit even is, because again, I come from the education space. And so many of you in the room have personally impacted me and our organization, so thank you for all that you've done to support us and for allowing me to be here today and to bring my son. Avenue 941 was really birthed out of, as Mike shared, my education experience and background. Having the privilege to work in the school district of Manatee County under Kevin Chapman and Omar Edwards, and their leadership was really rewarding. And at Lee Middle School, we recognized that there was more that could be done. And so we do have a promo video that I'm going to go ahead and just share, let Mac play to share an overview. It is outdated. We are a tiny nonprofit. I don't have the funds to update it. So there are a few things in there that don't judge us about, okay? Because it talks about how truancy court has been canceled. That was during COVID. So we started our program shortly after, and there was just so much of students missing academic world. So I had actually sat down with Mr. Chapman shortly after COVID saying, what can we do to help these students that have been e-learners for 3 quarters, but they haven't really been engaged in their academics? And so this was a solution that we came up with really together to work hand in hand with the school district. So we're gonna play the video, but it's a couple years old. Okay. Avenue 941 is a citywide discipleship initiative founded with the goal of seeing a church open in every single neighborhood in Manatee County to be the safe space for students in the after-school hours.
The avenue at which we reach them is through the academics, but we generally care that they are loved, that they're encouraged, and that they receive confidence.
It's helpful with me too, because I'm not a person to talk that much. But then now I talk like a lot more.
With Avenue's approach of one-on-one tutoring and mentoring, after a while we started to recognize that these students were actually not only doing assignments and doing schoolwork for the first time in semesters or years, but they were actually excelling at a high pace when they had that opportunity to be helped with one-on-one.
They're getting to ask questions that are very specific to what they need versus what an entire classroom of 25 to 30 kids needs. So we're getting to help them not only get the right answer, but to understand how to get the right answer next time.
One I encountered and I really loved is the girl that was failing 4 subjects. She came to Avenue 941, and within a month, she brought her grades up to passing and above average.
First time reading a book was really hard because I didn't know how to talk and read, and now I do know how to read.
One thing that we believe is that the church has a solution to the public school crisis. Truancy court has been canceled. 10 elementary schools in Manatee County are below 30% proficiency, and the school that I taught at for 6 years was number 1 for fights and aggression. Students are facing extreme poverty, incarcerated parents, and they really need hope for their future. We have found that these students don't know about Jesus, and so when the church opens its doors and students come into the house of prayer, a place where God's name dwells, a place where His Spirit is, they encounter something they've never experienced in their life before, and it's a place of love and peace and joy and hope.
To take kids who have low self-confidence and then to give them the confidence where they're able to interact with their peers better, interact with adults better, interact in the classroom in a better setting, it's huge, it's life-changing.
It's not only just academic help and support, but it's relational and it's spiritual, and we have the opportunity to say, hey, we matter. There is a purpose for your life, and so they're not just getting support that can eventually help them academically, but I think it matters for the community and the neighborhood of there's eternal impact happening.
What makes it special?
Because I learn about God, Jesus.
There's a lot of great people like Miss Nikki, Pastor Matt, and they helped me a lot go through some tough times.
The beliefs being practiced and openly practiced with these kids in an intimate setting, they become better human beings. They believe people love them, and they start giving love.
We are doing something with our communities by being there and caring and loving on these children, for them to understand that there is more than what they see in their environment, that their environment is not their destiny, but they are able to think higher, think bigger, and have dreams that they are willing to work to accomplish. We understand that when we have God first in the center, back into our communities, that it is going to be a difference. And so we're going to continue to preach Jesus and just let them know, hey, that the love of God is able to save you because it started there first.
So, if you will dig under the Kiwanis Family Day literature that Chad covered up my literature with, thank you, Chad, you will find our brochure that talks about us as a citywide discipleship initiative. Many people call Avenue an after-school program. Some call it a tutoring program. We don't call ourselves a tutoring program necessarily, because if a mom calls us and says, I need calculus help, I can't guarantee that at every location. We do offer academic support, and we will track down as many, if we need help with calculus, we can try to track somebody down, but we don't promise tutoring at every level. So I have control of this. So in Manatee County, I'm sure many of you know, you're part of this Kiwanis, you know Manatee County, you know what the students need, you know what the struggles are here, and you know that 50% of students in this county start below grade level, like when they track it at that 3rd grade reading benchmark. I'm sure you guys are aware that that is what the state uses, that statistic, to decide how many beds to make in their prisons. And that's why they call it the school to prison pipeline. And so when we look at just where students are at academically here, there's 26 Title I schools, and so that factors into where students are. 75% of the students from those schools are low income, but in Manatee County, so I'm a person of solution. So when I look at, okay, there's, I taught 8th grade at Lee Middle School, and so many students, we only had 2 classes of advanced in the whole school, and so all the rest are below grade level. What's the solution? They don't have transportation. They have to leave right after school. They can't stay for the free tutoring because they have to either go home and take care of younger siblings, or they ride the bus. What is the solution? How can we get resources to them instead of keeping them in the school longer at the end of the day? And so there's 300 churches in Manatee County. And so I love the partnerships that are being built with Jay Ellis and Palmetto Build. They work really, really hard to get the churches involved in City Commit. And so with 300 churches in Manatee County, only 53 neighborhoods, you're looking at 6 churches per neighborhood. There's way more opportunity to get students connected there than there is for how many schools there are in the district. In the spring semester of 2024, and we're still calculating, but we had 83% of students making significant academic progress in a quarter, meaning they're growing a whole letter grade. And we're keeping students all year long, and we're always looking for that academic piece. and we're tracking it each quarter. So schools do ABCs, and we talk about how at Avenue we do ABCDs. So we're looking for progress in academics, behavior, confidence, and discipleship. And as we're tracking this, we're seeing them grow an entire grade level. In academics, that's what we're tracking. Behavior is really like we're hearing testimonies from teachers, parents, and then just noticing the improvement. Confidence, 75% growing in confidence. This is it, right? If we can get a student to believe that they can do the work, if we get a student to believe that they matter, that they're worth fighting for, that their dreams, whatever they want to be, doesn't matter if they want to be a basketball player, YouTuber. I mean, we kind of scoff at those things sometimes in the classroom, but okay, let's champion that. Let's just look at it. Let's look at what it takes for you to do that. And say, it doesn't matter, let's go after it together. We had a student that wanted to be a basketball player, God bless him. He was a sophomore at Bayshore, and his grades were awful, right? And he didn't get to play basketball at Bayshore because his grades were awful. So like, how are you gonna get to NBA if you can't play high school basketball? But we had somebody that, in one of the networking groups that we were part of, that tracked down a signed ball from Dick Vitale and a signed book, and said, follow your dreams. And we were able to give this to this kid and say, you know what, let's go after it. We saw him, he didn't actually know how to calculate his GPA. So we taught him how to calculate his GPA because he knew he had to get a 2.0. And so then he's like, oh, light bulb moment, this is tangible. This means I need this many B's, this many C's, to get from where the hole I'm in to get where I need to be. And so in the classroom where we have, especially at the middle school, high school level, where we might have 6 classes a day of 20 to 30 students. I come from Charlotte Mech where we had 36 students in a classroom. So thankfully Manatee County works really hard to keep the numbers low. And it still looks like 120 to 150 students every day. And to hear their stories, to fight for them individually is really challenging when you have one planning period and a lunch period. But at Avenue, where we're working with a group of 10 or 12, we ask them their story, and they're talking about how they watched their cousin OD the week before, and they had to go to school the next day. They watched their stepdad beat up their mom the night before, and they have to go to school. And there's the handle with care, but the teachers don't know what that means, and there's don't know what's going on in the kid's life. And so the kids still feel disconnected. And so it's how can we see you, hear you, know you at a level that we can't in the classroom? That's our goal. And when we do that, and we say your dreams matter, your life matters, your family matters, your heart matters, then we see the improvement in the other things. So confidence really is one thing that we try to work on really hard. And then we're seeing growth spiritually. So the churches are able to fulfill their missions and their callings because we are, when we're working in the church space instead of on campus at school, we have that freedom. We do devotions with them. They can opt out. It's not mandatory. And we're seeing students that have never heard the gospel before, wanting Bibles, wanting to learn how to pray, being the first to even volunteer to pray, and get us started that way. And so it's really, really fun. So one of the things we actually didn't know, like I said, I like to think about solution. What I didn't know is Family Resources actually told us just a couple years ago that we are the only free, everything we offer is free. We're the only free K through 12, so every grade level, academic support program in Manatee County. And so with that neighborhood focus, again, alleviating transportation, and then the K through 12 atmosphere, keeping sibling groups together, that's helping our families in a way that some organizations just don't have the opportunity to because they're focused on just a certain grade level. High school students can volunteer, so they get out first from the school district at 2:15, 2:30. We can work with them on their academics for an hour, and then they can stay the rest of the time and volunteer with us. We actually, because of Key Club, I was just sharing with the table that I was sitting at, because of Manatee High School Key Club, they were coming and volunteering with our First Baptist location our second semester that we were ever even open. And one of the students from Key Club that was with Chad had 300 service hours, and she was a sophomore. I'm like, why do you have 300 service hours and you're volunteering with us? Why? Well, that's what I was told to do. Got to get service hours, and I want to give my time to something meaningful. I'm like, man, that's silly. I mean, I even started Avenue with the premise, I laid it before the Lord and I said, I don't want this to be run by volunteers. People's time is valuable. If I run this initiative, I want my team to get paid. The people who run the thing from start to end, the sites, I want them to be paid. I don't want that to be a volunteer. And that's been a struggle. I've been like paycheck to paycheck a few times, but I'm like, I believe that for our high schoolers too. Their time is valuable. So we started a high school internship program where they get paid. if they volunteer for a semester and we see that in them, that desire. And so that's an opportunity. If you work in a youth organization or you have youth in your family and they're looking for a part-time and they love kids, have them look into Avenue 941. The school district of Manatee County, huge partner for us, absolute gift. This makes us unique. Any church, so if you're also part of a church in here, especially Palmetto, we're looking for some connections there. We can open a site, and the school district has agreed that as long as we're working on their schoolwork, their classwork, we have access to Focus with parent permission, they will use the millage dollars that everyone votes for in November and always says yes, those dollars, that little half-penny tax is very important. They'll use those dollars for tutoring specifically. And so that's where we can call it tutoring because the school district sends a certified teacher to every one of our locations and pays them out of that funding. And so that's a huge gift, huge bonus, because our little church volunteers, they don't know how to access Focus or Schoology. And so we train our site facilitators, and then the school district sends us a teacher. What else makes us unique? We're partnered with Samaritan Counseling. So we're not counselors. These kids are coming with really heavy issues. And so we did a matching grant with Manatee Community Foundation, and we have $20,000 of counseling hours that we've been given to be able to offer to families and students who go through any type of crisis. And we've been able to use over $4,000 of those services just this year, offering support for students. And it's such a gift. We have a maximum ratio of 3 adults to every 10 students. We often are way closer than that with a 5 to 10 or even 8 to 10 ratio at some of our churches. So we can really be elbow to elbow with students. And then it just gives the church a really practical way. We so appreciate the donuts from the churches. We so do. And our students struggle and they need, if there's a practical way that a church can get involved, this is it. That's what I believe. Okay, according to educationconsumers.org in 2024, this is data that you may have heard. There were 4,358 third graders in Manatee County schools. Of that, they're saying about 437 are projected to just drop out. You're looking at 10%, and this is true, so I used to have the 2021 data. This is the updated data, 2024. They're saying this was true that 3 years ago, that 10% of every third grade class, it seems like, is projected to drop out. Because, they're just not getting where they need to be. The number of projected unprepared graduates is over 1,700. So they're graduating, but they're not where they need to be to enter the workforce, not with reading, not with math. And we want to be that difference. We want to take those 437, so we're like, school district, give us those 437. Can we identify those 437 and can that number be 0? Like, we don't have to work with 4,000 kids. Avenue doesn't have to work with 4,000. We want to work with a small group, and we want to take the lowest that aren't getting it in a classroom setting. Not everyone, like even in this room, you've got some that it can track, and then some that are like, in a big group, what I'm going to say, it's not going to land. And it's the same in the classroom. And it's the same at church on Sundays. It doesn't land in a big group. Some people need discipleship. Some people need a mentor. Some people need somebody to sit next to them and say, your life matters right now. And I'm going to sit next to you and I'm going to watch it matter. And you tell me what you want to see and we're going to go after it together. And our students need that. And some students have that intrinsic motivation and they can always do well. And some need somebody to fight for them. And those are the ones we want to work with. And so send them to us. And you do. And I'm so happy. So, but when you look at that number with the healthcare costs and everything that it's going to cost the government to help remediate, we're looking at $95 million. That's per every group of students coming through Manatee County. And I'm like, hey, I can run a location for $20,000. One location for a school year for $20,000. So let's sow into the solution instead of sowing into the problem. That's just my little tidbit. There's a ton of statistics about literacy, its importance, the value of it. 1 in 4 children in the U.S. grow up without learning to read. That's wild to me. There are students that are not in school. One of the students that, again, I started this for was a student who'd missed 45 days of school by the time December was there. Why? Well, I was living with my dad, and because my stepmom, my mom kicked me out. I was living with my dad and my stepmom. My dad got mad at me. He beat me with a broom handle till it broke. I needed 25 stitches, and so now I'm smoking pot. And then, 8th grade. This is why I'm not at school. Okay, well, I see you right now. What can I do personally? And we started working out. We got her to pass 8th grade. So they just need somebody to fight for them. That's it. So the solution, we believe it's the local church, it's the gospel, it's that every student has a calling on their life. Every student's life does have purpose, it does have meaning. It's bigger than school, it's bigger than basketball, it's bigger than YouTube. And for them to hear that is really what makes the difference. And then the more support and accessibility. We believe that if we can get it to them where they live, that's part of the solution, instead of having them to have to drive or get a ride for everything extracurricular, especially for parents who have an elementary, a middle, and a high schooler. They're going 3 different places, and it's challenging. So, and then an increase of 1%. This is why our statistics are so fun, because if we can increase literacy 1%, in their literacy scores, it leads to a 2.5% rise in labor productivity. So every little bit that we can move the needle, we're helping the workforce and their futures. Some of our favorite stories, and I think I'm running out of time actually. I could share all day. Like we had a 15-year-old, I know you know that, you already know that about me. Okay, but we just love our students. We fight for them. So like a student that wanted to be a pilot, 15 years old, living in a trailer off 14th Street with his aunt. We're like, 16th birthday, surprise. There's a private pilot in Venice. If you can get there, he's gonna take you up and let you fly this plane. And he did. Like this level of one size fits one, it's not one size fits all. It's who are you? What do you want? How can we help you get there? And so we have some really fun stories that I'm happy to share with you afterwards. And it's all these students right here.
Very good. Brenda, thank you so much. Frank had mentioned it up here. You were blessed, and you can, kind of feel the power when you're up here at this podium from everybody. There's so many connections and collaborations from the school board to just individuals to all the different churches. So we need you to start hanging out over here a little bit more often. We would like to present you with a golden ruler from Bradenton, Kiwanis to measure your future success of Avenue 941. And all the great things you're doing.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you very much. There is a Foundation Investment Committee meeting tonight at 4 o'clock, and then the Foundation Board will be meeting here or downstairs, I'm not sure, at 5 p.m. Don't forget about National Day of Prayer on Thursday. And join us next week when we're going to have our final crew of students from St. Joe's this time. So they'll be joining us, so make room at your tables. And Jody Jester with Bridge of Life will be speaking to us next week. And I believe that's all I have. Go forward, do great things this week. Thank you.